Welcome to Haunted Grove, a horrific podcast. Haunted Grove is a horror media review podcast with no set schedule, no censorship, and no idea what dimension we're in, or how to get home either. Your horrific hosts for this episode are Colin, Cameron, and Adam, and today we are presenting our spoiler review of Netflix's Archive 81, starring Mamoudou
That's what
and
I
Dina Shibari. Yeah, those fucking two guys.
I said it right.
Yeah,
I said the words.
yeah, there were words. You just cover your mouth and then it's insert now.
Just dub it. Yeah. All right. This is an archivist. The log line is an archivist. An archivist is hired to restore a collection of tapes who finds himself reconstructing the work of a filmmaker and her investigation into a dangerous cult. So this is based on a podcast series, and it's basically like operating in two different spaces of time. The current archivist is examining the previous documentarian who's investigating the destruction or the burning down of this. She's investigating, looking for her mom, really. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, she's investigating this hotel and trying to find out the weird people that live there because it used to be this old mansion and stuff. But you also have to throw in these side plots. This is a really hard series to like nail down narratively because it is sort of all over the place. But I was able to just sort of break it down like this. And from the very beginning, there's this snuff film that is supposed to have been like a Twilight Zone styled series that was filmed that was inspired by the snuff film, which is a ritual sacrifice that is meant to open up this portal to another dimension on behalf of this god or demon, depending on who is looking at them. Simultaneously, what's that? Or alien.
Or alien.
Yeah.
I mean, they fucking throw sci-fi in this as well.
It looks like almost like the aliens from Independence Day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like their little brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're smaller, less scary brother.
Yeah.
Like I was expecting Dan to go, "Welcome to Earth, bitch."
I would have loved that. That would have bumped it up a knife.
That would actually might have been enjoyable.
For sure. But then simultaneously, while that is part of the storyline, there's this whole cult of witches called the Baldung witches. And they're trying to stop this other cult from opening up this dimensional portal. So you have these two massive forces happening all at once, but no one knows anything about it until you get to the very later episodes where it starts to like piece everything together. Then suddenly you realize that the archivist, the original documentarian, Melody Pendras, she is actually been drawn in from the cult because she has some sort of, she resonates harmonically with this dimensionality that they're trying to tap into. And she's actually the daughter of one of the Baldung witches who was abandoned so that she wouldn't be involved in any of this garbage. And then like there's her girlfriend ends up getting paint from one of these cultists that is like filled with this special dimensional mold, which then allows them to tap into this other dimension. Like there's so much going on, but we do have different ideas about this series. And so I want to get your guys' take on this specifically because I see it one way, and hearing your guys' take, I was like, wait, you didn't like it? How did you? So Colin, what do you think, man?
Right. First 3 episodes of this are abysmal and an absolute waste. And the waste of the whole plot line on fucking Dan's mental health, which was bullshit fucking tagline to play on. Oh, we know you've had a breakdown. And the series blows its load in the first episode. So any sort of fucking plot that you might have to follow is all revealed in the first episode. And then it wastes 2 episodes fucking on bullshit. And then sort of picks up in the 4th one, and then rushes towards the end, trying to fill in all these fucking plot holes they've left everywhere. And oh god, it was painful.
I did not think it was that bad. All right, Cameron, how about you?
So I too was not a huge fan, but I feel like the complete opposite. I actually thought the first few episodes, like first 2, I want to say 3 or 4, were okay. Like I really appreciated them stressing his mental health because even though and oddly enough, I kind of called all of it from the beginning, even though there's a lot of shit and I never call it. I thought it helped because it, it added that layer of, is he actually going insane? Is he going to reach another breakdown, or is there the shit actually going on? And then it just sort of fizzled out for me. And especially with that last episode, like that last episode made it go from, my original rating down to the rating that I gave for the show.
Okay.
Like it just, none of that shit, especially at the very end, didn't make any fucking sense. So it's like, for me, it started off like a Channel Zero season, which I fucking love that show. And then just went womp womp.
Channel Zero's awesome, by the way. If you haven't seen it, audience, check it out. It's really worth it. Have you guys talked about that on your other stuff?
No, not good.
Oh, dude, it's
we should.
It's totally worth a revisit too, because even the bad Channel Zero series, or seasons, I mean, are still good. Like it's good horror. Okay, that being said, we're talking about that. So, here's why I love this series. I have to admit, the acting by the main actors and actresses is atrocious. The acting is really bad. I don't know why they cast these people.
Fucking screeching harpy through it.
They're just not good.
Yeah, the only good one really was the dude's friend.
Yeah.
And he gets shit on the whole time.
Yeah.
How many times did he get shit on?
I want to listen to his podcast, dude.
The whole fucking time, right?
That looks awesome.
Actually, this series would be better if it had been his podcast discussing the events that took place.
Yeah.
And kind of filtered back. That he was actually playing, the tapes had already been transferred, and he was playing them back on the podcast. That would have actually been much more engaging.
Yeah.
And then drifting back in, they did the camera drift from watching on the screen to what's happening. That would have worked so much better through the lens of his podcast rather than this fucking idiot of a character with like quarter of a personality.
Yeah.
Well, on paper, this is the perfect setup, right? So you have a Lovecraftian entity that wants to enter our dimension and presumably change it into its own or destroy it. You have a cult that's trying to see this done. You have witches, which I always love witches, who are trying to stop them. You've got people being lost in space-time. You've got mystical prayer meetings in ancient, not ancient, but rebuilt ruins of this hotel that used to be this old manor from the 1920s. Like, there's so much on paper that makes this so interesting. But like every horror trope that ends up turning bad, as soon as you see the big baddie, it looks like garbage, and you just sort of lose tons of tension and terror when you just see him. Like the static monster coming through or flashing quickly, or it's just
so. I could deal with the flashing quickly. Like, that was fine, but the second it starts coming out of the screen, it's like, God, why? Yeah. We've already seen this in so many fucking really piss poor done movies in the the early 90s, late 80s. Like, we don't need that. It never looks good.
But also stick with there's so many elements, and that's a problem. They're all crashing together and trying to find their own space. Where if they had stuck to maybe one of the elements, like the two competing factions, and him discovering it and possibly losing his mind. Not he didn't need beat over the head with, you had a mental breakdown, and fucking hell, Virgil Davenport at the start may as well had a fucking twirling mustache. I'm the body. I've looked into you and I'm going to creep you out at the start. Like, fuck off.
Well, what I actually enjoyed about him is that that's how it was set up, but he ended up not being a baddie. Like, he was...
Yeah, but his delivery at the start was over the top and unnecessary.
Yeah. I like.
And if you had actually just been straight from the start, trying to solve the mystery with him, and then it evolved, I'd have been more engaged. But he was portrayed as a fucking cardboard cutout villain at the start, and almost as if he's entrapping the protagonist, which just didn't. Like I said, the first episode ruins the whole series for me. It's the first episode, just beats you over the head with too much, ruins it, and that's where you're kind of trying to pick up after that.
It's supposed to be drawing you in, not pushing you away.
Yeah, but the opposite. That's the problem.
So anyway, this was executive produced by Sonnershine, Paul Harris Boardman, and James Wan, which I was surprised about. It was developed by Rebecca Sonnenschein. Again, based off of that podcast that was, I guess, a hit. I'd never heard of it before. So
yeah, I had to look her up because one thing that's really pissed me off during this series, I thought she might have been like a 19-year-old who didn't know how a camcorder worked. And it turns out she's not. She's in our age group. Right.
Well, we got to remember, this is the 90s. This is the when
so those things don't go around with an iPhone fucking battery lasting all day.
Secondly,
know. Those small cassettes are notoriously expensive, so you don't go around shooting fucking hours of footage, fucking waving around. Plus, how many times has that thing dropped? If you've ever had a fucking camcorder in the attic, that would be gone by episode 2. By the time I fell over twice, it'd be in fucking bits. Not a fucking it's not a Nokia 3310 with a fucking 20,
like I fucking use those sons of bitches or the hammer.
Yeah.
And plus, Sony in that time and age made fucking Apple look like bargain basement stuff. They were seriously overpriced. So us mere mortals that could maybe have a camcorder would have a JVC or a Athie. You couldn't afford, unless you're a fucking millionaire, you couldn't afford Sony stuff. And
that's the thing that's bugging
you. Have you ever went to a Sony store? Have you ever went to a Sony store when they were a thing?
No.
Holy shit! You're like, fucking second, third mortgage. Like honestly,
honey, we're at the mortgage our home to get this camcorder in order to
we're not
record us having sex. It's gonna have to happen. Well, I mean, what do you guys think about the initial premise of just Dan? He is a tape archivist who cleans up old tapes. I thought that was awesome.
I like that. I like the idea.
I want that job.
Yeah, that'd be really, really cool. And then so I'm just going to step through a couple of these because again, on paper, this should have been amazing. And even though I enjoyed it, it was flawed heavily. So the second thing I thought was really great is that he's obsessed with old shows. That is why he got into what he's doing. I love that trope.
Yeah.
Someone hiring him mysteriously in order to do their bit in some off the grid location. I thought that's a great creepy setup. It's clear what's going to happen, but
right. So these tapes can't be transported because they're so fragile. Yet you can mail one to him in the post to fucking have a tester. Fuck off. Oh
well, he just wanted to get him in that location. That's why.
To talk about.
What's that?
I have to talk about, right? So everything's supposed to be fucking hermetically sealed.
Right.
The fucking cheap kitchen cabinet that they played the sound over the top to make it sound as if they'd be better using fucking beer fridges. I would have looked more realistic. Not a fucking rattly like the fucking edges. When he opened it up,
that's
the
actually
edges were wobbling.
Especially because it's old celluloid. Like it should be refrigerated and sealed. Like, and there's light exposure for fuck's sake. Like, at least have a closed off cabinet, not a fucking cheap ass glass door.
Of an 8-track, you don't fucking put it into the case and shove it in the fucking VCR. You know what I mean? You have spices equipment, so it doesn't really like he did with the film at the start. Remember the film we had it in the open rails. So the whole point is that you're checking the spool, and if it does catch, you can correct it immediately. And he's doing all these tapes, just fucking shoving them in the machine, and one of them did actually spool. It's like fuck off.
There was supposed to be a otherworldly reason why that one happened, right?
No, but I mean, do your research on the basic technology. If you're going to go back to 90s technology, do your research as an archivist. You don't just fucking put them together. You know what I mean? You would have an open spool. There was technology for converting them, especially in the mid 2000s. No way VHS, the CD was a thing. Remember digitizing stuff? That was the beginning of it. There were spices of equipment. You didn't just fucking screw a few things together and shove it in the machine.
Well, I mean, the machine was the one that was digitizing it, right? I mean, he was just cleaning up the reels and putting them in a new case.
Yeah, but that was bollocks because he's dealing with fragile stuff here.
Yeah,
I bought it. I thought it was fine. That's funny. What do you guys think when you found out that there was another person who was recording those videotapes from that old girl from the hotel that was like, I'm getting messages in the TV, so I record everything. We find out that, no, this is the second guy doing this type of stuff. It adds this extra dimension of, okay, well, now we know that it's set up where Dan is chosen because of his father and their involvement in this whole thing, right? But then we know that there is another just totally rando who is hired to do it too. So that's not the only reason why he was reached out to. So that's almost tangential to the reason why he was hired.
He was, because I just watched like about an hour ago, I was catching up. he was actually transcribing a different set of tapes. Because that was the thing that pissed me off. And they had him in the fucking beard and cracking up. Why did we start from the beginning of the story? Because he should have been halfway through it when Dan got involved if he had started on the same set.
Right. No, I understand that he was doing the VHS tapes instead of the camcorder ones.
He's actually transposing a different set, like a soap opera or something. It wasn't actually Melody's interviews. He was on another project. Which I'm actually glad I watched it the second time, because that first time I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, I caught on that initially, and especially when you see the amount of the VHS tapes that he was doing. But I just like the idea that there was another person because ultimately what it is this one guy who's obsessed with this one event, who's trying to recreate it so he can, get his brother back or find out his brother's killer or whatever the real reason was.
But he didn't.
No, he totally didn't.
Once again,
no.
But then, best laid plans, it doesn't always work out.
One thing that bothers me with the VHS tapes, it's like Dan's going through all this effort to salvage these high eights.
Yeah.
VHS tapes were much more fragile because they're a lot bigger and a lot bulkier. These were the original fucking tapes. Like, all the dude was doing was digitizing them. They looked clean as shit. There, no smoke damage, no nothing. Like, he put new stickers on them, and that was it. And it's like, how the fuck does this entire storeroom of VHS tapes go undamaged, but yet a few high eights are fucked? Like,
well, I mean, we gotta also keep in mind that like those VHS were like, he wasn't cleaning them up or anything. He was just watching. He was just supposed to consume and write everything down.
Like, and I understand that most of them were in a storage facility because they do set that up when she's doing the initial interview with her, that, she goes through so many that she has a storage unit she puts them in. But I'm assuming that all of her tapes are there, including the ones that were in the apartment when the fire happened. So it's like, that doesn't make any fucking sense to me.
Yeah, it would have been mangled. That's what I mean. There's I think of so many elements here that how they just stuck to the story and actually grounded it. For a sci-fi, you need to ground something in reality. It's the same with fantasy and everything else. That's why fantasy is set in medieval times, because there's that limitation and grounded. This didn't ground anything in reality, so you can't enjoy the fantastical because there's nothing to root yourself to, then to look out. And that's where this series went horribly wrong. They didn't get the basics. Like I said, I had to look up Sun and Shine or whatever you call her, because I'm like, is this some kid that doesn't understand the technology? And it turns out she is that sort of age, so she should remember how limited you are with these camcorders.
I mean, there has to be some suspension of disbelief when you're dealing with the idea of tapes being the storytelling mode. You can't, because she would have literally like buckets of batteries, in order to do what she's doing. So you have to do a little bit of stretching in order to tell the story.
3 cases of, or just set up, like, when they stepped into the, like, telling the story and the interdimensional thing, that could have played out nicely. And then the reality's crossing outside of the tapes, that would have worked so much better. Not her recording 24 hours a day, fucking camcorder footage, and the camcorder being everywhere. And also, I hated the way the camcorder always fell to the side or always fell into the shot, where there's nothing wrong with Dan coming back into it, where the thing went off screen and he wasn't actually watching. But they had him, like, the wee girl was taking the fit. Fuck me. Who the fuck?
You're taking this way too literally.
That's because it's stuff like that is bugging the living shit out of me. Because there was 3 episodes wasted of shit that could have actually made a tighter plot.
Did you notice how it started being the first person, just the camera view, and then as the series progressed, they just got rid of that whole trope because they're like, it's too difficult to have the camera pointing at them, so they would just take it totally off-camera views.
They didn't have a clear plan. That's a problem. And then they threw it out the window. Like, by the halfway through episode 3, they just start fucking. Do you know what? I can't think anymore. This is too hard. So what was the point?
Well, I don't know. I kind of understand it from a storytelling standpoint. Like, we've already had a couple episodes of the POV shot. So we're starting to understand the look of what it is to look through that and the interaction through that. So I can understand why they would go from that to gradually just going to, like, here's a little bit of fuzzies on the sides, and then the story goes on, and we just accept it.
I've already primed you for that,
Yeah, when we watched Last Night in Soho, this was done so much better.
Oh, of course.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a
And
perfect.
That's a
was
night
the-
and day.
I mean,
Yeah.
And this is the equivalent. The
I wouldn't try to
transporter
compare
takes
this to
mostly
the
the
next
vehicle,
one.
the
Yeah.
transdimensional time jump. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The time travel. That was done so much better with the music in Last Night in Soho. This is an example of being done awful,
Yeah.
like terribly
See, I
with
don't
no
know, 'cause
thought.
it's hard because there's aspects of the show that are a callback to that era that they did so right that it's like you almost want to forgive them for some of the things they messed up. Like the fuck, I'm forgetting what name the camera is, but like the one that the girl had.
Right.
Like,
the
that's a
wee-
legit tape.
Yes,
The
Yeah.
video was legit like video. That's how it was, and fucking cool as
That
shit.
was a cool element, but the problem is it came too late. These first 3 episodes are what threw me off this whole thing. And like I said, if they had tightened those up and got rid of all the filler and actually been a bit more focused,
Yeah.
the last half of this series would have come together so much better. But the problem is, because they wasted so much time, then when it comes to the end, they're trying to shove everything all together, fill in all these plot holes, and set up for a new season to get you engaged, and it didn't work. That's the problem.
Yeah.
If
The
it-
very ending didn't work for me at all. Like it.
Yeah, but
it
like
really
the
bugged
second
me.
to last episode, that or I'm trying to remember if it was the 6th or the 7th episode.
7th
but
episode was the back in time. with
That
the
one?
hotel.
Yeah.
best fucking episode of the entire series.
It was cool.
Absolutely.
I love that, but they should have done that sooner. That should have been
That should have
like
been
episode
episode
4
3.
or 5.
Yeah. That one actually reminded me a lot of Clive Barker's work.
Yeah.
That show or that episode. The problem is, like, I like what they did where they slowly revealed the depth and complexity of this cult, and then they reveal that the cult is actually based on just people trying to have a little bit of fun and summon the devil or something to give them power. It's like this entire cult is based on just this one family trying to get some more power, and that it's like the most like let down of a reason to have a cult, but because time and distance happened, it seems like it's so much more. And it made me immediately start thinking about real world nowadays cults that come up based on, some Gnostic gospel or some ancient wisdom or something. And in truth, back in the day, it was just them just living their lives. But now with time and distance, we're like, that's mystical and magical, so we build a whole cult around it, build a whole religion around it. I thought it was
think
great.
we're based off the Hellfire Club. We're having a bit
Yeah.
of debauchery and fun.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
then there's a hardcore group that were using the main lot who were obviously financing it, and that was another thing. It never really played out, but they were hinting, episode 7, like I said, that was the most interesting one.
Mhm.
They were hinting that the main core of the cult were the sacrifices and
Yeah.
not just the one person.
Yep.
But they never did anything with that.
Well, I mean, once
Do
they
you know
did
when
it once,
when
they
play the
ruined
music
it.
And then the main
Like, they got
movers and shakers
taken.
were
Yeah.
there for the ritual, and everyone else is still partying away. But it was almost like they knew the building was going to burn down with the energy or something. No, and they almost let it out that these people were also sacrifices, not just almost like a Wicker Man type, affair, as opposed to just the one person.
Mhm.
And
I
they
didn't
didn't
get
do
that.
anything with it.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, that's they were hinting at it before they moved downstairs, and they just left it hanging, and it didn't do anything with it.
Like, because I thought everyone was in the cult except for the one that they were interviewing.
No. The party goers were just there, and they were in the cult in name only. But then you had the main group of a handful of people, and don't forget there was a handful of people waiting downstairs.
Yeah, I
who
didn't
never
get
took
that.
part
I'm
in
gonna have
the
to
party.
watch that again.
And they had it set up that these were the sacrificial lambs, but they left it hanging and didn't do anything with it, which
Yeah.
That's probably
and
why I
then
didn't pick
that
up
would
on
have
it.
played in nicely to the vizier, because then the junkies on the 6th floor, the people that met in
Well,
the common
actually,
room.
They did
Would have
kind of
played in
discuss
that
that,
too.
though.
They discussed the junkies for sure.
Well, no.
No, but
Like even the party
premise
goers.
of the people in the tower block being the sacrificial lambs to provide the energy. They touched on it, but they didn't. They just left it hanging again, and that was really frustrating, because I thought that's what I mean. The slit in the throat was the catalyst, but the other people in the building were the energy, and that's why they needed to be held together. But they left it just. It's really frustrating.
'cause
I wanted
they
to
did
like
talk-
this.
They
I
did
wanted to
talk about
really
it with
like this thing.
episode 7. Like that's why the one brother left, because he's like, fuck this, you guys, all these people are here and they don't know why they're here. What the fuck is wrong with you? I'm kicking rocks.
But they never, like the left, it was there, but it never really played out. Because
Yeah,
then
I
how
didn't
could
pick
they-
up on any of that at all. The only thing I picked up on was the one sacrifice, and everyone else was like a bystander wanting to see a show. You know, they were either in the cult, or they're there watching the event, or they were the sacrificee in order to create the ritual.
No, that's what I mean. They went further into it, but they didn't play it out properly.
Yeah,
So
no, I'm
instead of
hearing
hanging-
what you're saying. Yeah.
And it was just, it's like, fuck, that was a good bit. That could have been, instead of wasting those first 3 episodes, there's just kept it simple. There's so much there to play with and go in depth and make a really tight drama. And they didn't.
What bugged me like one of the most, except for the very, very end, was when we find out that that girl in the red raincoat is actually Melody's mom. And that she is one of this witch coven trying to stop him. Like, there's so many other ways that you could have gone about stopping it, and tying her to the heroine of the series, it just fell flat. It didn't make sense. So she's looking for her mom the whole time. Her mom's avoiding her to keep her out of the cult, which only draws her to the cult. That seems so ridiculous. It should just be she's just drawn to it naturally because she's from that type of a background, you know? Like they can create this whole like genetic predisposition idea, or maybe because she resonates in the same harmony as this other dimension, that's why she's connected and drawn to this hotel to investigate it. There's so many other ways that they could have made it more important for the character of Melody rather than this other character who doesn't show up until the very end and doesn't actually do anything. You know, it just has this moment of reunion so that at least one good thing happens.
She's the one that does the chanting and shit that opens
Yeah, but
the
they
portal.
didn't need her to.
No, once again, that was another plot hole. That was like them running around with the shovels. The last episode, fucking fill us in, fucking fill us, plot hole in. Oh shit, we left that one too. Fucking. Yeah.
What I liked most about that is that, yes, it was absolutely rushed, but it did feel very much like a Call of Cthulhu type game, like a video game. I've played Dark Corners of the Earth, and you get those moments at the very end where everything, you know, the whole gameplay for hours is just mystery and story unraveling slowly. Then you get to the very end, and that's when all the alien shit happens. That's what I always expect in a Lovecraftian story. And so it didn't really bother me when that's what happened in this, because it was the culmination of everything that was preceding it. Because we had to not only work through Melody trying to unravel all the whole mystery, which I thought was pretty interesting, even though the acting sucked. We had to deal with Dan trying to unravel it third person, and then his own engagement and interaction with it. I thought that was really kind of cool. And then we see that culmination of him actually participating in the ritual and stuff. I didn't mind it. Echoes.
Okay. It was a whole lot of okay.
Where they missed the trick was when those two started crossing over and meeting each other.
Yeah,
they should have played with that more. That would have been so much better. But once again, they threw it in, and then they just left the fucking threads hanging there, and that's, you know, another wasted opportunity. Having them isolated, if they had a few members of staff and her being there, Melody's mother, that would have worked better. Not just turning up randomly. It fucking made no sense.
Yeah, I mean, she did work for the guy, right? And that's why she was there, but he didn't know that she was.
No, but she had to be there throughout, not just popping up. Like, was she paid by the scene?
Oh, right. I just figured she had a tent.
Do you know what I mean?
She lived in a
actually had her live-in staff.
Right.
They had live-in staff and him do. Oh fuck! We haven't even talked about where he just smashes up the place and goes mental for no fucking reason.
Well,
I'm sorry, but if so,
no, that's to prove like the insanity
of
of the situation. I liked that.
You fucking dickhead.
I would have been pissed too if it was my place.
Yeah.
But if you're him, like going through that.
He's a guest in someone else's facility. Of course, there's going to be. He doesn't need to be into everything. Fuck off. In fact, this could have been done.
Except that, you know, he's realizing he's been lied to, and he's basically been isolated there on purpose, and he's being used by this guy. Like I totally got his breakdown.
None of that played out.
Yeah,
because when he confronts Virgil Davenport at the end, there's no reason. There's no reason even for him to research this. He wants to find his brother. Then he finds out his brother's in the dimension. He's like, fuck that, and that's it. So why did he set up the ritual thing? Oh, he's in there, but I don't want to get him out anyway. So what the fuck?
Yeah, well, I mean, he didn't. There's no way for him to know what his brother was doing, right? Like his whole idea is he wants him out, but if his brother's in there and he doesn't want out, then he's not going to get out.
Yeah.
You know, they don't know. I mean, all he knows is he wants to tap into whatever the hell his brother was exploring and tapped into. He just wants to try to unravel this mystery to figure it out. You know, he's just not being honest with the people who are doing it for him.
Why set up the ritual chamber again then? That made no sense.
Well, that's because I interpreted it as he wanted to open the gate to let his brother out, but he didn't know that his brother didn't want out.
Yeah.
No, his brother did want out because his brother was pulled. He just changed his mind at the last minute. That's where it all falls apart.
See,
the ending was weird.
Goes, oh, my brother's a narcissist, fucking sociopath. Oh, he built his own tomb. Leave him in there. So all the fucking premise was for nothing because he wasn't going to let them open up. Which, do you know what I mean?
Well, if we're going to be talking about the end already, like that whole shit, like that was the thing that threw me off and made me hate this fucking show. Is like when they're all like in the other dimension and shit, and Melody comes out. She comes out because his fucking brother grabs her and pulls her into the portal. Like, where the fuck is he? How did he not come out? More importantly, how did he come out of, or he literally came out of the portal to grab her, to pull her into the portal. How the fuck did he do that?
Because this is going to be, as I said at the start, this is going to be Battlestar Galactica in 1980. They're going to be chasing Alexander through fucking space and time for about 5 series until it falls off a cliff. They're going to milk this for as much as possible, and that's what they're going to be doing. Fucking Dan's going to be in 1990 sometime, and fucking Melody's going to be here, and they're going to fucking jump back and forward, and they're going to see, and Virgil's going to be like, or sorry, Alexander's going to be like, whoa, and sneaking through the fucking dimensions, and that's the way this is going to go.
I just hope he has a cape and a top hat if he's going to do that.
And a cane. Don't forget the cane.
Make this worthwhile.
Wingtips. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that's going to be the trope is them going to that other dimension and trying to get Dan out, of course. And Dan's going to be trying to open it from his side. And like, there's going to be a lot of that.
But he's not in the other dimension. He could transport it back to Earth.
No, the other dimension is like a shadow of Earth. He's living in that 1994 version of dimension.
Mm-hmm.
That's fucking, you know what I mean? It's one of them. It's
weird.
They should have wrapped it up. Honestly,
I'm
sick of these. One series, kept it simpler. It would have been a nice, tight drama, but they're just fucking throwing so much in and didn't. They could have,
it's one of those things where
for multiple series, deal with the concept and build up on it.
This is based on an established show series, right? So it's more than one season of this podcast. And so they're just echoing what that podcast has already done. So that's why they didn't do it in just one.
Podcast.
What's that?
I couldn't even face looking up the podcast after this.
Oh, really? I started it, but it was too loose. It's one of those you have to really pay attention to, like just sit down and just listen. And I don't have time to do that. So I just couldn't do it. So there's other elements that I thought were kind of interesting. I like the idea of this sort of tainted paint being able to I personally, I just love the idea of dimensionality, you know, the idea of multiple dimensions and having like these thin veils that you can sort of like reach through in these minute ways, where, you know, you're using an element in order to create a paint from this other dimension. And that's how you're creating this sort of almost like a window into it almost, you know. I thought that was kind of like a little cool thing. And it felt very, very Clive Barker to me, and which is why I probably like this, because alone on its own, this show, I don't really think, you know, it has a lot of substance, because all it does is borrow from other greater works, you know, whether it's Lovecraft, whether it's Clive Barker, whether it's oh gosh, what's another one it's from? I don't know. It's going to come to me in a minute.
Kind of.
That's pretty much all I saw.
Yeah. That's the problem, though. They didn't make it its own thing.
Yeah.
So they took these elements, but they never, like, it's really lazy writing, honestly. That's why I look at it. Really lazy putting together or something, because they had these elements, but they never fleshed it out. They kind of teased it. Okay, we'll throw that in. Okay, we'll throw this bit in. We'll throw that, and we'll not take it through the conclusion, or we'll not make it a central. There's nothing to base yourself on in this story. You're kind of bouncing along.
I don't know. I thought Dan did a pretty. Actually, it was Dan's friend that I felt grounded it for me, because his friend was like us. You know, we're watching this insanity play through by, you know, hearsay throughout the whole show. I just felt more connected with him, especially when he was talking to what's his name that came to him, Virgil, and Virgil was like, hey, I want you to watch your friend. He's like, oh yeah, how about you fuck off? Like,
Yeah.
Like, of course, yeah, that's how I would act too. Like, who are you? Like, get the fuck out of my office. Like, this is my place. I just love that.
That show was great too. It's so believable because he was like, you could tell he was fucking terrified, but he's like, nah, fuck this. I'll get my ass kicked for my friend. Like, yeah, that guy's fucking awesome.
Yeah, the same friend who fucking treats him like absolute shit.
I mean,
true.
it's
Until
an
the
abusive
last
relationship.
episode.
It's what happens.
Yeah. I do like it's interesting because clearly Mark is connected with this guy emotionally, right? His friend. I was leaning on the side of he actually likes him romantically, and that's why he was willing to go through so much shit. It never played out, of course, but that was why do you guys think that Mark was willing to put up with so much? Was he just a good guy?
I mean, yeah, that's like I never saw it as any sort of romantic undertones.
No,
It's like that's the kind of shit I'd do for my friends too. It's like, oh, you're fucking losing your mind. You need me to go talk to some old bitch? Yeah, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Let's figure out this fucking mystery. Maybe we'll find a dead body and poke it with a stick.
See, here's the thing. See the very first opening scene where we see Dan and he's talking to the street seller with the cassettes. That was the character I was looking forward to.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But you only got a brief snapshot of that character, Dan. And then instantly we get arsehole Dan.
Yeah.
Unlikable, unhinged Dan, which is fucking annoyed me because actually that character at the start when he's with the street seller, he goes there every week and the guy's like, oh, I've got these here. No idea what's on them. Don't give a fuck. That's half the fun. Tell me what it is. That kind of, not thrill seeking would be the word, but this guy loves mysteries. He loves solving puzzles. We didn't get to see that Dan. And that's the sort of Dan that you'd be friends with.
I totally disagree with that.
And do weird podcasts with. Do you know what I mean?
Like that's having that established early on explains why he was digging through that guy's house and going into the tunnels, and like that's why he was doing all that, is because he did have that element of mystery and curiosity.
No, they took it too far.
What?
They took it too. Yeah, you don't knock a wall and just start smashing through. When he was looking around the corridors for an entrance in and solving the thing with the keypad, that was more, not just, I'm going to fucking get a sledgehammer and go at it. That was over the top, or fucking screaming into a camera like a loony. Do you know what I mean?
But he was losing his mind, though. That's what I thought was great. They established that he had a pre-existing condition that he tried to commit suicide from. And then you top in interdimensionality and being locked in this crazy place. You find out they're surveying you the whole time and that they actually know your father who you lost. He's slowly unraveling.
In a facility that would have cameras. That's what I mean. If it had been a house, and that's what it kind of messed up. If it had been a house, yes, I could understand him being surprised by surveillance cameras, but he already told it was a storage/research facility. So there'd be cameras and all as part of it. And obviously there'd be bits out of limits. So bringing that in didn't work. Once again, it was just purely executed.
Yeah, I didn't see it that way. I thought it was. I thought it was okay. It's interesting that we can see it so differently. Like I like that about it because it does. It means that it can be interpreted even different ways.
Every point of everything. That was the rules today.
No.
I thought we had to agree on every single word. That was the rules of today's society. We can't actually have discussion.
Of course. No, but that's what I love about it, right? Is that we can, like, what are other perspectives that are taken from this that are different from ours? Like how did other people perceive it? I don't know. Was it believable for you, Cameron, when he was sort of like, whatever you want to call it, unraveling or whatever, and he just started like busting in holes in walls and like, breaking down everything?
I mean, I understood it. I think it was a little over the top. I mean, me personally, like, I try to put it in, like, what would I do in that situation? Right. Like, obviously, no, there's fucking tools and shit around. It's drywall. Take down the fucking shelves, take out a razor blade, cut where the shelves go, pull the damn thing out, and put it back, and you're done. Nobody's going to know, and that's fucking great. Because guess what, motherfucker? You're getting paid a few grand to look at some tapes for a few hours. Try not to piss on the shoes that are, you're supposed to be licking. Like, come on.
It could have been the cat and mouse game, but there was none. There could have been a bit of cat and mouse.
There was, though. Like, but that's
not really the way he executes. Like you said, he just fucking smashes the wall in and like loses his mind within one episode. You're like, oh, fuck off, come on.
No, it wasn't one episode though. Like, it was. I mean, it wasn't as gradual as. It was an 8-part series. Like, it could have been a much more drawn out descent into madness. But it was a cat and mouse. Like fucking homeboy watched him the whole time on the cameras, like watch him destroy his fucking place, just like
Yeah.
and then it confronts him. Like, I mean, he was definitely like Dan was falling into the plans essentially that Virgil or whatever was wanting him to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he totally was.
Also, if he hadn't fucked about so much, he could have just had those tapes done in like a day or two.
Right?
Instead of fucking spending more time out in the woods. Just fucking... In fact, you don't even have to watch the tapes while you're transposing them. You just have to like scan through afterwards. Fucking
yeah, but then you don't have that show. I mean,
Yeah.
It's just a guy who does a job in that case.
Right? Yeah, I mean, call me crazy, but if I was getting paid, what was he getting paid? He was getting like 10
100 grand?
100
It was
grand, some
insane.
shit like that.
Yeah.
Like, I would have that shit done in a fucking day. I would not be going to sleep. 2-3 days tops, that shit's done, and then I'm fucking
that. You know,
off
it's like
next year.
Well, I think the whole premise was that there was so much that he had to sit there and, you know, it took time for him to let it like run in the tape's course. You know, because we did, you know, you were mentioning earlier, Colin, that it was like, it was on for 24 hours a day. Like she recorded a lot. It was only a handful of tapes.
Virtually fucking impossible.
Right. But the point was that they were long and he couldn't just do it all quickly. Even though the guy seemed to be pressuring him, look, you get this done, you can get out of here. Like, hurry up.
No, but once again, he didn't upload anything today. So even doing a couple of tapes a day.
Well, he was also
he's
losing
fucking about.
time. Yeah. Like, as soon as he started communicating with Melody, he was sort of losing himself.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about the best part of this? It has to be the best for everyone. His pet rat.
Yeah.
You guys like that?
Yeah, he was a dick. And then he was like, oh, okay, never mind. You're my friend now. I won't try to kill you anymore.
I love that rat. Even when he was like chewing on the cables and stuff, he was just like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, rats are cool. They're actually really intelligent animals.
Hell yeah.
I love rats.
I thought that was a lot of fun. Okay, well, let's get into if you have your favorite part of this. Colin, let's start with you. What's your favorite part if you have one?
It would have to be episode 7, when we're actually seeing the original ritual based off the snuff movie at the hotel. I can't remember the name of the hotel that the Vizier was built on top of. Yeah. But the actual bit where, like I said, everyone was partying upstairs, but you had the main cohort, and they all go downstairs, and that whole setup of the original ritual set out and looked really, really good. And it was actually pure intentions. You understood what was happening, and seeing that play out. So there was a mystery before a mystery. Yeah. And I was actually getting Stephen King's sort of vibes. You know, every 20 years, this has to be playing itself out again.
Right.
So I was getting that, and I really enjoyed that sort of vibe from it. And the fact that, yes, you can all join this cult, but there's the real members, like any society. There's the filler that keep the place filled up, provide funds and, you know, networking opportunities. And then there's the real members who do the wheeling and dealing. I love that aspect of it. And the first attempt at summoning the demons / aliens / other entity, because they never quite knew what they were doing with it, was I actually thought there was twins. When this explained that first as well, there's a whole tangent I went off. I thought there were twins.
Oh, wow.
And the meteor that landed on Earth was one of the twins, and the other one was Colin. So I actually thought there was 2 aliens. Oh. Yeah, and that's the way I kind of brought that out. But it wasn't obviously, you know, it fell out. But I was actually getting excited about 2 entities. And then I thought maybe the Bulldog Witches were on one entity side, and the one that landed on Earth was maybe the one trying to prevent the other half getting in. And I built this whole picture up, but that episode was so well done. It was actually enjoyable.
Yeah.
But that bit, them leaving the party and going down and letting the people party upstairs. Yous are just here. Drink the wine, means nothing. Drink the champagne. Yeah. But you are part of the real movers and shakers. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. What about you, Cameron?
Definitely the same. Like episode 7 was just fantastic. Like even the end of episode 6 leading into episode 7, where Dan's friend comes across the snuff film, comes across the estate of what's his face. But that episode, I just loved it. Like that felt like pure Clive Barker to me. I'm drawing a blank on the name right now, but it felt a lot like oh God, what was it? It was like Haunted
Weave
Hollywood.
World?
What's that?
Weave World?
No. It was something about Hollywood. I was up in a canyon and
Cold
shit.
Heart Canyon.
Cold Hard Canyon, yeah, the last fucking book that Frank Muller did. Like I got a lot of those vibes. Like it's a very different premise, but that's what that episode felt like to me. So I was fucking just like, no, give me more. And it made a lot of everything kind of make sense. Like the whole cult, the idea of having all this energy in this building to bring this down, to pull the entity down. Like it was great. Like I would have watched a series of just that, like leading up to the ritual being the finale, and then going into something else. Like I would adore that.
Yeah.
I was actually more rounded. They managed to have more rounded characters and more of a plot in one episode than the entire series.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, and everything about it made sense. Like all it took was 3 siblings and their journey through this shit to make everything make sense.
Yeah. A close second for me, because that is my favorite as well, when you get to travel back in time and see that finally we get to see the snuff film in real life, play out as it actually played out. A close second would be that psychic when she was clawing her face off.
Yeah, that was pretty
I thought that was pretty cool. Like I really liked the idea. And then all of a sudden she starts like repeating the future Melody's words back to her, which were in her dream, and or Dan's words to her or something. I thought that was really, really cool.
You see, if I hadn't left Dan's mental breakdown until that moment,
right,
that would have played out so much better. So if I had brought that forward in episode, because that was that episode 3 or 4?
I'm not sure. Let me look.
Might have been episode 4.
Yeah, it was episode 4.
Is it episode right? So if I had brought that back an episode, right? And then the moment where he watched this and the ritual, and then realizing that moment hits of they're in something, and then he went into a spiral of madness for an episode or 2, that would have played out so much better. But what they did is they had him start off that way and then come into normality, just completely arse about face.
Yeah, I don't know. Anytime you're dealing with like mental issues, he supposedly came out of it on the other side of it, and he was okay, and he was kept telling people, "Look, I'm fine. I'm not." They're all projecting that on him, the madness, and he's like, "No, I'm totally fine. Everything's okay." Until he starts to really see things and then question himself. Like, and that wasn't until like episode 2 or 3 or 4 or something like that, where he started like really questioning his own mind. Seeing that demon in the thing over and over again in the static. I hated that demon. I just hated it so much.
It was just not good.
Cheap and nasty.
Yeah.
And that's a problem as well. This all looks cheap. It looks cheap.
Yeah, and like it has a Channel Zero vibe, it's low budget is what it felt like. And I didn't mind it because of that. Cameron, you mentioned this early on, that it just reminded you of Channel Zero.
Yeah.
And it truly feels exactly like that. But I don't mind the low budget look and tone of it. It's the acting that really rubbed me the wrong way. Yeah. That's where you need to spend a little bit of money on the actors, or else the set and the environment I can forgive, but the talent, you gotta get someone that's good, and they don't have to be named. You don't have to be familiar names, but they have to be able to act. Yeah, that's what really frustrates me. All right, least favorite, Colin. What's your least favorite part of this?
First episode, the first meeting, when Virgil Davenport starts letting on think about, didn't your family burn down, and like really twirling mustache type shit, ruins the whole premise. Like all the spoilers for the series, the mystery is just beaten out of you in the first episode. If they actually didn't include the first episode, maybe had this as 7, you know what I mean? It's the first episode ruins it. So when Davenport's explaining and being a dick, there was no call for it. Like, this is supposed to be a CEO, supposed to have charisma, supposed to entice people in, and he does actually the opposite. Like, automatically you're thinking, whoa, I don't want to stay here anymore. This guy's fucking, you know what I mean? That just destroyed it.
That's the bad part, though, because, like, that guy can act, but he's doing Like it's
But his
written
character,
bad.
it's not. I'm not blaming the actor for this.
Yeah, he's just
I'm
written
blaming the
bad.
script, and then the reveal at the last episode
Yeah.
just made no fucking sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right. I've set all this up, but I'm not going to do it now, and you're not going to do it either. Like, fuck, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Those two
crazy
bits
because
at the very start and the very end with Virgil Davenport, waste of a fucking character. You know what I mean? Because trying to find out what happened to his brother makes sense, and the fact that he dipped into it and realized there's some cookie shit going on at the building, and he's trying to solve the mystery, actually was a good character arc. Would have been also another good grounding storyline, like Mark, but it was wasted. And those two bits, right at the start, right at the end, it's like.
Cameron, what is your least favorite part of this?
Just the ending, man. Like, it didn't make any fucking sense. I mean, I get that they're trying to draw this shit out as long as they can, but like, it just there were a lot of things in this show, like throughout the entire series, that just didn't add up. Like, and whatever, you can let it go. I get it. Shit happens. Like, I overanalyze shit stuff sometimes. So whatever, that could just be me. But yeah, like how it ended, it was just it was a lot like the ending of Idle Hands, which I actually like. But they're fighting the demon. Oh my god, this is the final battle. This is gonna be shit. This is gonna be epic. And then they stab in the hand, and then it just goes. And it's like, oh, okay, it's over, I guess.
Lovely. I want friends.
Yeah, but yeah, it just it felt like that. It felt like the demon's death of just pop and gone. Oh, okay, well, there's that season.
Yeah. It didn't ring that hollow to me. It really reminded me, and I mentioned this to you off camera when I first introduced you to this, asked you about the series. It reminded me of Watcher in the Woods, the old Disney film, where this girl gets lost into another dimension and accidentally switched with this other entity. And so the whole time it's this other entity trying to find its way back, and it's everyone at this girl's family trying to find her. And so that's really what this felt like. The problem is that was done really well, and this was not. This idea of you going into this other dimension to pull someone out, and then, oops, you just got left. I don't know. Supposedly he's the one with all the answers. He unraveled everything. He has all the ability, all the support back home. He should have been able to come through.
Right.
Other guys did it better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking X-Files did it better.
Oh yeah. 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 So that's my least favorite as well, is the very end. I was just like, why? Even if you're going to make multiple seasons, you don't have to end it like that. You could have a satisfying ending to a season and then pick it up again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, there's still other things out there to be mysterious about. That bugged me too. All right. Well, let's do some ratings here. We're kind of at the end of tearing this thing apart. Colin, what'd you give this?
2. And that was a
2 knives in the back.
1.5. Yeah.
It's weird because you want to stab it more, but that would give it a better rating.
Right.
Burn it with fire.
It's not worth my time. Just 2 knives. What is it that gave it, like, why land on 2 rather than 1 or anything else?
Episode 7 gave it the second knife. And the fact that there's so much potential wasted. There was so much there hanging, but if they had it tied together, like I said, just simplified it a bit. They could have made this a 5 season arc, including the parallel timelines of the original hotel, the Vizier, and current day. They could have 3 timelines running in parallel and kept this going for 5 series easy. Yeah. But they've just smashed it all together. It's just a shame. I don't know where James Wan came into this. Did he do a Spielberg thing and just go, I'll take a check?
Yeah. Probably. He has some stinkers, I think. Like, he's not always great.
The 3 episodes have taken so long to get anywhere. It's kind of James Wan territory. Let's hurry up and cram everything into the last 20 minutes.
Yeah. All right, what was your rating, Cameron?
So for me, it was 3. Pretty much same sentiment. Like, it would have been 2, but episode 7 was great. And I mean, really, it was watchable. It was great background noise. I'll never watch it again. I just didn't find it that interesting. And the thing I have a problem with, and it's also my bias because, yeah, Channel Zero, like I've watched all those seasons numerous fucking times. Like that is like chicken noodle soup for my soul. Especially the first season, Candle Cove. Fucks me up constantly. I love that shit. But the thing is, like, you go from a show like that is sci-fi, like they're notorious for not putting money into anything, and it's just a dumpster fire, but it's one that you watch until it goes out. Like, they can do an entire series in 6 episodes with more story than this when it had 8. And it's like, it's fully possible to have multiple timelines running and have it work. And I just feel like they really, really missed it with this.
All right. Well, after this conversation, I'm actually dropping my rating down to 3 as well. I had it at 4 because of the promise. There's so, like I said, on paper, there's so many things about this, so many elements about this that I desperately love. It just wasn't executed well, and it wasn't particularly written well, and it wasn't particularly acted well. And so if they just could have pulled one of those things out a little bit more, I could have kept it at 4, but you guys have absolutely valid points, even though I still enjoyed it. And I will watch a second season for sure. And before that comes out, I will watch this season again, because I do think there's things in it that for me are satisfying. You know, I love a slow burn mystery and thriller. This didn't quite nail that, but it tried, and I can appreciate effort, even if I'm not obsessive about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I ended up on a 3, but I started with a 4. You guys have brought me down.
I just thought a bit about it's one of those. It's like watching who do you call him? Abrams, fucking Jar Jar Abrams movie. You watch it the first time, it's like, oh, so much stuff. And then you think about it and like, oh, for fuck's sake. You start telling them, dude.
Yeah, that's actually a really good example too. Because there's always something really interesting set up. And outside of Fringe, I don't think he nailed anything that he's done.
Agreed.
Like Fringe.
I mean, he's an excellent producer. Yeah. I'll give him that shit. Yeah. But yeah, aside from Fringe, I'll have to agree with that. It's all kind of like, cool guy.
I love the thumbs. All right, well, that's all I had. Is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about with this?
I think we got it covered.
I think we got quite a lot in there.
Yeah. And again, it is kind of hard to dissect an entire season of content in one episode and review it. So we didn't go into every little minutia of different characters and stuff. But the truth is there wasn't a lot of meat there. And so, you know, if you want to put in the time, you know, take our reviews at face value. If you want to put in the time and actually, you know, judge it for yourself, you're more than welcome to. Of course, it's available. It's on Netflix. But I don't know. You kind of have to be wanting to get into it and stay with it. You know, it's one of those things where what do we have to watch? Nothing really. Well, then let's watch this.
Well, I'm still kicking myself in the ass for choosing this before The Witcher.
Oh, like, you haven't watched The Witcher yet?
Oh, I'm doing it now.
Oh, okay.
But I was waiting until after this to start The Witcher, and it's like, I could have watched this gold, and instead I watched this.
Oh, you only on season 1?
No. Season 2 just came out, so that's what we're watching.
Oh, right, you only started that? Okay. Right.
Yeah, no, fuck yeah, I totally watched season 1.
Yeah, I liked season 1. Season 2 I wasn't as into as I was season 1, but it was still good.
Oh, I'm digging it.
When The Witcher's a guest character in his own series, it's a bit much.
Yeah, they didn't warn you.
Yennefer's the bestest ever. We all fucking 3 episodes if we all love Yennefer. It's like, come on, right?
It's true.
It's not Yennefer season 2. It's fucking The Witcher.
Yeah. Who's on the name, damn it? I want top billing. All right. Well, thank you all so much for tuning into this episode of Haunted Grove, a horrific podcast. The only way you can find out when the next Haunted Grove episode is creeping up through the shadows waiting to jump out at you is by subscribing and clicking that damnable bell. Don't forget to like the video while you're at it.
And remember, if you want to survive to the next episode, because we want you to come back, don't perform that sacrificial ritual that opens the portal to another dimension.
At least have a fire extinguisher.